So just again, because new world coming in, or old world coming to the new world, just give us again the brief sort of background on Mediaocean and the fact that you guys are pretty big dogs in the industry. We just don't know it.
Yeah, I think it's there used to be a tagline, the most successful company you've never heard of, and I think it was the bringing together of Donovan Data Systems and MediaBank as the two legacy processing systems for the ad industry side of the business, and really coming together. The reason why we wanted to put the two companies together and form Mediaocean is you had Michael Donovan, who had built systems that were industry standard, integrated with Nielsen, auditable. You had Bill Wise, who was running MediaBank, that was kind of the upstart that had a real digital focus to it. And so putting the two companies together, what we really wanted to say is, look, the industry clearly is going to be changing going forward. The way that TV is bought, which has been the same way for since the Mad Men days, right? I pick up the phone, I do a deal. Yes, we can electronically get those TV schedules sent across, but with programmatic buying, with trading desks, the industry is going to change. And a primary reason of that, and a primary reason why Mediaocean was formed, is to say, look, there are still too high costs involved in managing this. It is true that most of the ads in the Super Bowl we process. So you pick up the phone, you do the deal. That's a $4 million buy into the system. But for digital, to spend $4 million, the agency's got to spend 100 times the amount of labor to use Excel, key information in. So what we're looking at doing as Mediaocean is really how do we integrate and how do we build relationships to enable the agencies to be far more successful.
You guys have an initiative called Connect.
Yeah, so
tell me about that.
So Connect is really taking it to the next level and saying, we realize that for a buy at an agency, the data they use, the platform they use, the way in which they process fundamentally could be different for even multiple brands for a single advertiser. So the data I use to target, we've heard from different panelists here, the different sorts of data that I've got available to me. What we're looking at doing is saying that's great. We want to enable agencies to be able to use that data to target, but then there is that processing that has to take place. And data itself is great, but actually putting it in places where it's useful at decision points, both at the planning stage, at the optimization stage, that's where it becomes really, really valuable. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of what I do working in the Connect group is looking at data sources, technology companies, content providers, and saying, how can we actually work together to help power the agencies to kind of the next level? So
are you actually talking about, bringing the sort of the DMP closer into, if you look at the DMP as a functional module or a business tool, bringing it closer into the planning and buying construct?
Absolutely. I think every agency has custom data sources that they've invested time, effort, and money in. Each advertiser has sales data that some of them share it with their agencies. That's wonderfully useful for targeting down to the the individual. That said, using that and still making sure the overall processing of planning, buying, optimization occurs is still a challenge today. A lot of it lives in Excel. I have, obviously I have my DMPs there that have been put to use for, display level buying and for exchanges. Haven't really made it over the, to
I think
TV yet.
That's the key differentiator,
and
right?
That's the challenge. That's the challenge. You're still, I mentioned earlier, you still have people at agencies faxing orders across. That just has to change. Everything can be handled electronically. Everybody knows APIs. There is a real opportunity here to drive the cost down, not just for the buying side, but also on the sales side. And let's not forget that for programmatic, there are huge opportunities for the sales side to help reduce their costs of selling. And the big challenge in this industry is once everything's run, how do you resolve discrepancies? Because that's still the number one issue I see with agencies is discrepancy resolution.
So we'll get there in a minute, but I just, I have these moments sometimes when I'm doing panels and I'm like reflecting on things, and my aha reflection right now is, I think it's so interesting that if you look at the buy side of the world, right, we've had this sort of evolution for a while that TV buyers have really very much so been trying to expand their remit and, video, right, ubiquitously. It's sight, sound, and motion. They're buying sight, sound, and motion, right? So they're extending that reach of television, whereas the digital guys have been trying to jockey to get at TV dollars, right? But it's quite interesting when you think about the idea of being opportunistic and extending the portfolio of the media you're acquiring. when it's like, you know, trying to build the guest house when the main house has fallen down and it's in shambles, right? I mean, how do you reconcile that? Like, because it sounds like they probably, I mean, if you have an industry, a buy side that's operated within a tool set, they're probably not going to change that tool set. So I'm assuming, and I know with your freewheel integration, et cetera, you've had to extend it to online video. But there's so much work to be done in legacy television to just move the ball forward a little bit. Where's the priority?
Yeah, no, I think it's, you know, a lot of that is driven by, you know, what agencies actually want to buy. So, you know, we were approached a couple of years ago, and one of our success stories last year was with Pandora. So Pandora, you know, digital audio, they approached us and said, we've got buyers, local buyers wanting to treat us as if we were a radio station. So we took that challenge and said, well, you're going to need data to determine, you know, if a local buyer goes in and wants to spend budget in a market, the first thing to do is they run you know, what's the top station in this particular market? They can't do that for Pandora. You know, Arbitron doesn't measure Pandora, so you're going to have to come up with a way of doing that. So Triton Digital was the data source we used for that. And so we said, okay, we've got the data source there. We have to electronically make sure the schedules can come over. We did that. And you know, within a couple of months of doing that, the sales of Pandora with local buyers just went through the roof. In fact, last year was in excess of 400% growth for Pandora because a local buyer was able to look at it, analyze it, and treat it as if it was a local radio station.
That totally puts to rest the myth in the industry that the hardest working sales guys in media are radio sales guys. So you just completely disprove that. I just want you to know that. So, okay, let's go back to your reconciliation thing, because I think this is quite interesting that, you know, this is the so dirty laundry of our industry.
I always say, when I first moved over to the US 12 years ago, and at the time, you know, I was still doing training, you know, new buyers on the system. And, you know, normally you would think in the process you train a buyer on how to do planning, then buying, then ordering, and then finally reconciliation, because that's the way the workflow. No, every agency, the first thing they want their new assistants trained on is discrepancy resolution, because so much of the invoices, and especially in digital, so many of the invoices that come in just do not match. They're paper invoices. Somebody has to key that information in. And, you know, for TV, there's Nielsen as the truth, as the trading currency. If it says it's a 3.6, it did a 3.6. For digital, and this is, again, one of the challenges they're going to face with programmatic, I might have my own data set to determine whether that was successful or not, but what's the currency that I'm agreeing to pay against with the actual, you know, publisher or vendor or whoever it is I'm actually working with. There is real money tied up against discrepancy resolution, and a discrepancy for an agency is a discrepancy for a publisher as well. So that is the real challenge. Yes, electronic invoicing is coming out, but it's agreeing on what the data is, what numbers we're actually going to be trading against to take it forward. Once we've done that, I think there's a real opportunity to fast forward and really accelerate programmatic buying, and linking the buyer and the seller and saying, this is what you want, this is what I'm agreeing, this is what I'm targeting. It runs, I can analyze it, I can get the invoice in, and have everything match. You know, it's just, there is a limitation. Media buyers, media agencies have said this a number of times. There's a limitation how much they're investing in programmatic, in digital, because it is so expensive for them to do the processing. We reduce those costs, I can see real dollars starting to flow through this, and it really starting to scale.